She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. I'm Dani Johnson, and on this show is about you. It's about your life. It's about your freedom. It's also about your influence in the world, your influence that you personally have with your money, with your mouth, with your attitude, your influence at work, your influence at home. You see, every single human being has influence. Whether they are that pity party person, they're influencing people to want to stay away from them, or they're that super positive, outgoing person, an encouraging person that they cause people to want to be around them. You have influence, friend. And influence is a very powerful and important thing to recognize, to own, and be responsible over, because you are making a difference, whether it is positive or negative, every single day of your life, especially through social media. There was a recent study that came out, Pew Research, that was done, that showed that from 2007 to 2014, the number of atheists and agnostics nearly doubled. How and why? What would cause that to happen? Why would something like that happen? We're supposed to be one nation under God, right? The curious thing about that is, which God does this nation actually serve? Another thing that poses this question to me when I look at the number of people saying there is no God, or, I have no God affiliation at all, that it's not provable. It doesn't, it's like a non-issue. And there's some atheists who can be very aggressive with their beliefs. But I've known many atheists throughout my life. And I've known some wonderful, precious people that are atheists, and some very wise people who are atheists. We have some people as extended family members that are atheists. And then I have, on the other flip side, some of those Christians that are not open-minded, who are incredibly judgmental. And it causes me to go, wow, what does it actually mean to be the light of the world? What does that actually mean? And are Christians really the light of the world? Are they the only ones that are the light of the world? Are they the only ones that can be the light of the world? It's kind of a good question. I would love for you to engage in this conversation, whether you want to write us a message right there on Facebook, on YouTube, leave us in a comment, or if you've got the courage to call. I challenge you to call my studio right this minute. If you're an atheist, I want to hear why. And if you're a recent convert to atheism or being an agnostic, I want to hear what provoked you into that direction. 830-315-1557 is my phone number. Again, that's 830-315-1557. Call us now and engage in this discussion. Tell me what it is that you think being the light of the world looks like, sounds like, acts like, and or if you are one who doesn't believe in Christianity or any religion, any faith. I want to hear, if you have the courage to share, what brought you there. I've got the courage to share what brought me there at one point in my life. Yeah, I grew up in an atheist and agnostic home. Yeah, clearly. And I was also violently abused. I was emotionally abused, physically, mentally, and sexually abused from the time I was 3 until I was 16 years old. I moved out of the house because of all of the abuse. I said, I'm done. Tried to get my mom to leave my dad, my stepfather, because the abuse was just, it was unbelievable. No human should be treated like this. And so she, because of her own issues that she had in her own life, and she truly loved him, she wasn't didn't have the courage to leave at that time in her life. Much later, after all of us kids were gone, she eventually did leave. But growing up in an atheist home, it was actually not just an atheist home. It was a Christian hating home. And I can't blame my stepfather for hating Christians. I really can't. And I can't blame anybody, actually, at this point, because of the kind of examples that so many times the kind of influence that we have in the world that sadly has not been the greatest influence. In fact, I don't know if you heard, but recently in the news, on mainstream media, on the internet, we've got some of these pastors who've been around for a really long time who have lived off of the gospel, meaning they've lived off of the donations, the tithes and the offerings, which sadly, if people actually read their Bibles, they would actually see that the tithe and an offering actually goes to the Levite, and as well as the priestly line, which was only the line of Aaron, so a Cohen. So that was for all generations and forever. That isn't to say that there isn't a contribution that could be made to a local place, but as far as tithe and offering, that very special thing was a very set apart thing, is still to this day a very set apart thing, and is set apart just for the Levite and the line of Aaron. And as well as it says, to the poor, to the widow and the sick. It says it in Malachi that bring in that tithe and offering. You've been robbing me, bring it in so that my people may eat. But here we have in the modern day of mega stardom, mega celebrity pastors and mega churches that I think some are doing some great things, and then yet others have become incredibly wealthy. I've been behind the scenes in so many of these places. I have seen how they have actually worked. I've traveled with many of these people and have like they've told me I'm worth $150 million and I haven't taken a salary for the last 20 years from the ministry. Well, how in the world how did you make $150 million? Well, off of the ministry. So they drew large salaries and made hundreds of millions of dollars to end up with $150 million net worth to themselves, flying around in private jets. So even just recently, friend, all over the internet, we've got two that have been around for 40 years asking for over $50 million, $54 million, and asking you to partner with them to pay for their private jet. In one case, it's his fourth private jet. Is that being the light of the world? Is that what it is? It brings me to the place in the scriptures where Yeshua said, you cross over land and sea to win over a single convert, but you make him twice as a son of hell than you are. And so the bottom line is, and we also saw Paul, who absolutely admonished people for not having their own businesses and buying their own bread, but instead being a burden to the people. But see, when we don't read that book cover to cover, we don't know where the tithe is supposed to go, which is to the poor, not to a private jet, in my opinion. Now listen, if they had private businesses and they'd made millions of dollars and that's what they wanted to do with their money, knock yourself out. But please do not use manipulation or God as a way to get money, to get people to give you money, to give you the rich lifestyle that you want to have. Earn it the old-fashioned way. Start a business. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue with more in this conversation right after this. Are you confident that you're always getting a good deal? Have you been equipped with the negotiation confidence, strategies, tactics, and supporting tools you need to close world-class deals? Finally, JPA is making the exact same specialized negotiation training and secrets used by the world's largest, most successful corporations available to everyone. Proven in more than 60 countries and used by brands like Adidas, Vodafone, Pfizer, Nokia, and others, the JPA negotiation method will set you up to save money and time while significantly increasing your profits. It doesn't matter if you're buying or selling real estate, closing contracts with suppliers, or selling products and services to individuals or organizations. Using their simple step-by-step negotiation preparation checklist, you'll be ready to confidently slug it out toe-to-toe with the toughest professional negotiators. It's time for you to stop leaving money and opportunity on the table. Go to bizneg.com/events to register now. Again, that's bizneg.com/events. Get registered today. Have you ever wondered if your investments are making enough money for retirement? What if you could buy an investment rental property for as little as $35,000 that rents for at least $550 a month? After Aaron and Drew Hudson asked themselves this question, Hudson Real Estate Investments was formed, and now 200 transactions have been conducted. Their system helps individuals buy and hold real estate. Their definition of a great buy and hold is a property that pays you a monthly positive cash flow from day one. Hudson Real Estate Investments has a team who find properties available for immediate purchase, vet tenants, and have qualified property management in place. So if you're looking to have freedom and live your life on your own terms, grab your phone and text the word future to 484848. Get started today. Text the word future to 484848. Secure your future now. Do you have a closet full of clothes yet say, I have nothing to wear? Are you a mom doing her best but desperately lacking me time? Or maybe your schedule has you dressing practically instead of powerfully. What if I told you there's a system, a blueprint that can save you time, money, and turn every head in the room, as well as impact the world through fashion? Friend, you're in the fashion business whether you like it or not. You're an ambassador representing your faith, your marriage, family, and business. Style is just a skill made easy with 123 Style Me. 10 steps to style success that will expand your leadership, save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. This program will bring you peace of mind, reignite your marriage, make you more productive, respected, and instantly boost your confidence, equipping you to be bold and beautiful. Go to courses.lindapage.com. Again, that is courses.linda, LINDAPAIGE.com, and make a priceless investment in yourself.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. The way you look at things is about to change. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Are you the light of the world? Do you know what that means? Do you know where that statement came from? Was Jesus, Yeshua, the only one that said it? Was he the first to say it? Nope. He absolutely was not the first to say it. Oh, but he said it again. He actually was quoting Moses. He was actually quoting the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible that God gave to Moses. In fact, all of Jesus' teaching was literally, clearly quoting the Torah. He was teaching Torah the entire time. So what's the light of the world? Are we really the light of the world? Is it just Christians that are the light of the world? Well, the original lights of the world were the Jews. They were the original. They're the original teacher of being the light of the world. And so are we really being the light of the world today? Or are we part of the reason why the amount of atheists and agnostics have doubled in a 7-year period? Are we part of that reason? I don't know. We've got Mr. Is it Wilkie from Pennsylvania? GM is how he states it. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dani. Thanks a whole lot for having me on today. It's an honor to be with you on the broadcast today.
Thank you. So you converted actually from an atheist to a Christian. So the exact opposite of what we're talking about. So when you were an atheist, tell me why you were an atheist, and then I want to hear why you converted.
Well, sure, Dani. To give you a bit of backstory behind it, it was, I had a trip through. I was brought up in a Pentecostal home, and eventually became very angry at God because I felt that He had abandoned me. When I came to find out much later that it wasn't like that at all. He was with me the whole time.
Yeah.
During that stretch of time, it was actually a deistic view that I had of the world, separate from agnostic and atheist, in the fact that, I acknowledged that there was a grand creator that set the world in motion and allowed it to take shape, and was kind of just hands off. You know, he didn't actually have a relationship with his creation.
Which is very similar to agnostic. Agnostics typically are that. They believe there is a God. You know, who is it? I don't know. She or he? I don't know. But there is a God, and that's typically that's what my mom believed. My dad was a total atheist. So you grew up in a Pentecostal home, turned away from your Pentecostal roots, and believed that God had totally abandoned you. So you're like, okay, there is a God, but He's totally unconnected to His people. What caused you to convert back to Christianity?
It was through a very tumultuous time, really hard or a rocky time in life, where I had battled with thoughts of suicide at the younger years of my life. Praise the Lord, He's delivered me from that.
Yes.
He's brought me a great deal of strength over the time, but it was through that a really hard time of going all over the place spiritually, and when I finally woke up, there were praying people in my life, and I believe it was through the strength of their prayers and the will of our Father in heaven that He allowed me to wake up and realize that the reason I wasn't dead yet was because I still had a purpose to fulfill, a light to share to the world, which I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share in my day-to-day.
So can you tell me how you perceive being the light of the world?
I perceive being a light to the world as taking the indwelling of Christ, that the Hamashiach that lives within us, and allowing that light that He has placed in us in our holy temple to be brought forth to the people that we encounter every day, both Christian and non-Christian, Jew and Gentile alike.
Yeah. But how does that go? Tell me, how do we manifest that? Like, what does that actually mean? So I know you're giving me a good biblical answer and a good New Testament answer, but I'm talking about, what does that look like at work? To be the light of the world. What does that look like at work? Does that mean you're preaching at people, or does that mean something different?
Well, I would actually say it's the opposite of preaching at people. It's actually living by example. Like, I'm a sapphire. For the listeners who don't know what that is yet, you need to get the first steps to success. But I manifest that light through positive affirmation. The Lord has given me a gift to be able to share my light through that way, and offer building to people who may not be in the greatest time of joy in their life. That's how I share my light.
So you're saying you share your light through encouraging other people,
which I believe our Lord would also do in the moment.
Absolutely. So it's through encouraging them, complimenting them, lifting them up, edifying them. That is, in your understanding, how you are a light at work.
Yes, in this body, in this temple that the Lord's given, that's how at work and abroad, other places too. I seek to share that everywhere.
Yes. And so at home, when you're at the grocery store, when you're traveling around the country, it is you feel that being an encouragement, being an edifier, being thankful to people, so talking with people, engaging in relationship with people, and getting them to open up maybe, and just planting some kind of encouragement in them is to you what being a light is, versus some negative, condemning, closed, isolated person who's always correcting people, who is spreading just caca around to people. The opposite to you is being a light. I would have to agree that is a way to be a light, and that preaching at people sometimes can preach darkness into people. And so many people have used the Bible to beat people up and or to manipulate money out of people's hands. I've watched people, religious people, use condemnation and judgment and self-righteousness to chase people away from God, instead of being the one like God who accepts. We are all His children. We are all His children. The Buddhists are His children, okay? He loves all that He has made, loves them, which is why He gave His Son as the Messiah to wash us of our ways, of our wickedness, of our sin, of our mistakes. And I don't even know that it's necessarily for Him as much as it is for us, that we know we need to be cleansed so that we can reconnect back to Him. It's really a powerful thing. Quite an interesting thought, don't you think? This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue more in this conversation. Are we really the light of the world, or are we spreading darkness left and right? Financing a home can be a nightmare if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Ask me. I know this. That's why the first thing you have to do is find a mortgage company you can trust that has your back through the entire process. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading your current one, or looking for an investment property, Rick Fujisaki at Wintrust Mortgage wants to win your trust. Rick understands the mortgage industry, and he can take all the stress out of financing a home for you. His easy-to-use worksheets will help you calculate the mortgage you can afford. And he has a unique tool designed to help you find and set aside money for your down payment. And when you work with Rick, who, by the way, I love, a portion goes to caring for the poor through King's Ransom Foundation. So visit loanmortgageguys.com and start building your dream today. Again, contact Rick at loanmortgageguys.com.
It's Amanda Sanders. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I've been completely inspired by this event. And it was payday this week, and instead of me going and splurging and spending money like I typically would have, I paid off $2,700 worth of debt, and I am extremely excited to get the rest of our debt paid off. And I also implemented a plan. We've been living off of a lot of money, and I did the numbers last night, and we can live off of $5,000 a month and get our debt paid fast. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much.
And it's your first event, right?
It is my very first event.
So awesome.
So excited.
Hey everybody, my name is Digby and I'm from New South Wales, Australia, and I'm here live at First Steps to Success. I've been to 6 events now, and my journey started with an encore in Brisbane, and after doing 2 encores in Australia, I just really had to come to a live event, so here I am today. And since attending an encore and getting involved, my income has doubled and my family life is just blossoming. So you have to get there. You just have to experience it.
My name is Jen Horley. This is my first time at First Steps. I just gotta say, my God is way bigger than my hair. These last 2 days, beyond what I could ever have imagined. I grew up in the church and thought, sure, I'm gonna go to another conference, I'm gonna make some amazing friends, I'm gonna have some life-changing experiences. But I never expected to find the community and the genuine, authentic, real community that I found when I came here. And I did not expect to find a true leader. And I am just mind blown right now and so beyond grateful to be here. So thank you.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
The light of the world. Moses first wrote that. Then the one who really popularized the message to the modern church, if you will, would have been Jesus, the Messiah, Yeshua, his Hebrew name. Today we are talking about influence, your influence on those that are all around you. With the rise of atheism and agnosticism in the United States of America, we have to ask ourselves, those who believe they are believers in the Bible, are we not doing our job? Or is our approach failing? I would say yes. Check out this other statistic. Another study done by researchers at the University of Minnesota indicates that 26% of Americans actually do not believe in God, but are afraid of how they will be treated if they actually admit it. Why would somebody be afraid of how they're going to be treated if they admitted that they don't believe in God? I want to know why you think that is. 830-315-1557. We're talking about the admitting not to God. I mean, they already are like, there is no God. So there's not a fear of being condemned by a God that they don't believe in, okay? But they're afraid to admit it to their peers. They're afraid to admit it to their friends and their family members, their coworkers. And why? Is it because they're surrounded by Christians who now they're going to get severely judged? Have you been judged by Christians? If you have a different sexual preference, have you been judged? If your sin is on the outside of you, like mine was when I was pregnant at 17, unmarried, were you judged? Is judgment being the light of the world? Is beating people up with the Bible being the light of the world? Is this a way to lead people to the love of God? Not to mention, I think that some of these people who become atheists and agnostics, I think honestly the church largely is to blame for it, for a couple of different reasons. One, judgment and self-righteousness, rejection instead of acceptance. That when we have forgotten where we've come from, when we have forgotten that we are nothing but sinners, completely given the grace of his love, who is willing to give his son, that we would feel the redemptive power of forgiveness and the cleansing of our failures. Our loving Father knew that we needed that. In fact, from the entire beginning of time, he made a way for all of our sins to be washed away. Every year with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, with every offering that was brought. He knew that we humans walk around with guilt and shame. But this guilt and shame, that after we've been cleansed of it, that once we've done something that we've screwed up, we ask for forgiveness, we're not now to use our righteousness as a weapon of judgment against other people. And when we have done that, we have pushed people away from God, and or that we've lived a dual life. We love to sit around and preach at people, never confessing our failures, our mistakes, or our weaknesses, making ourselves look like we're high and mighty, trying to hide everything from our past, which is totally living a lie. A lie. So I think largely we have chased more people away from God than we've brought in. And so what do we have now? We have people who are afraid to admit it. So I think partially because of judgment is why so many have walked away from God. And it's not because of God's judgment. It's because of man's judgment, the ones who are perhaps some of the churchgoers, perhaps some of those that claim that they walk with God or live in the Bible. I think the other side is there's just a lot of corruption in high places. We have very powerful churches with very powerful celebrity pastors that are asking for $50 million for a brand new jet. Like, when everyone can see the disastrous things that are happening all over the world today, things like the bombings that are happening in Israel, and it's our biblical mandate to be able to help the poor, especially the poor in Israel. There's more poor people rising up every day because of these kinds of attacks that are coming from terrorists. There's more widows being made every single week in places like Nicaragua because the president of Nicaragua has become a terrorist. We have the president of Nicaragua that is shooting his own young citizens. Every single week for weeks now, new widows have been created by the president of Nicaragua. And so at the same exact time that we have the widows being created by a president of a nation not far from the nation I'm living in right now, and we have new orphans that are being created, we have people who are being starved out by a president, and, at the same, so then cut now to the next commercial or cut now to the next program, and we have a rich, famous celebrity pastor asking for his viewers to partner with him so that he can fly a $50 million jet. And then wait, cut to the next program. Don't worry, because there's now another rich celebrity pastor who's asking for $50 million because he said there are demons on commercial airplanes. What? It's these kinds of examples that I believe caused me 30 years ago to say, God, if I have to be like your people, judgmental, condemning, critical, that push you out when you have sinned, I don't want anything to do with you. And if I have to be like your people that care more about getting rich from taking offerings instead of taking care of the poor, which is what the Bible actually says, God, I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with it. If I got to be like these people, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with it. And mind you, friend, that was a foolish thing for me to do, no question. But I know that he knew at that time exactly where I was, and he drew me right back to him. He drew me right back to him. Within a few years, he drew me right back to him and said, don't look to man, look to me. So if you're an atheist or an agnostic, I get it. I was for 5 years. I get it. And if you're a believer, be careful. Judgment chases people away from him. Love is how you're a light to the world. Encouragement, edification, believing in people. Look for those who are struggling and hurting and help them out. Rather than putting in an offering bucket for a $15 million church or a $50 million jet, the fourth jet that this rich pastor truly doesn't need, rather than doing that, let's do good in the world. Let's actually preach the gospel through food for the poor. Let's actually preach the gospel by building them homes. There's no greater miracle and there's no greater love, according to the Bible, than helping those who are in need. That's how you spread the love of God, not by preaching something you don't live. This is Dani Johnson. I hope I got under your skin today. Do something good. And if you don't know where to do something good, go to kingsransom.org. Kingsransom.org. We are sending $20,000 a week to helping widows, thousands. Just last week, $10,000 alone. It fed 2,100 people for a month straight. A month worth of groceries we delivered. A month worth of groceries. That's what 10 grand does. 50 million for a jet makes me mad. Anyway, that's it for us for today. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.